BITB, India's leading platform for all things travel and tourism, presents an exclusive insight into what's happening in hospitality, especially the changes in Delhi and NCR. Presenting HotelScapes 2018, where captains of industry debate the opportunities.
Over the last 2 years, this is what my company has been doing. We set up BITB as a platform. From a workshop on rural tourism to a largely Indian tourism summit, a cluster of conclaves. We do CinemaScapes, which we've been doing for 11 years, bringing cinema and tourism together. We initiated India Travel Congress, which is focused on new age drivers. So a lot of what we are doing is not happening in the rest of the industry. I wanted to understand, and I'm sure all of us want to understand, how is hospitality or doing the business of hospitality in Europe compared to that in India? Where are the kind of things we are doing well, where we are not doing so well? So over to you, Mr. Chadwal. Share your experiences with us.
So as an Indian, I was heading Deutsche Hospitality, and a person of Indian origin with German passport, I'm heading the Indian Hotels company. So I think that part makes it very unique and brings us to the subject of East meets West. I think we follow more standards, policies and procedures in this subcontinent than anywhere else in the world. There is no United States of Europe, I'm sorry. The standards of hotel business in any international brand in Scandinavia are minimalistic. There are certain catalysts of success that I want to tell you, and that leads from the ethics to the culture of honesty. If you don't stand honestly for anything, you will end up standing for nothing. The second part is the adaptability. Human being has continued to evolve and has continued to adapt. I think we also need to adapt. We don't need to always copy. See, the French adapted from an elaborate French food that we learned in hotel school and how to make all those sauces converted into a nouvelle cuisine. We have to adapt our business models. And then about development to be aligned to infrastructure. I think the infrastructure development should define how our hotels are developed, and we as an industry need to adapt to it.
Faith had been doing so much in the last 2-3 years. So that is kind of advocacy for hospitality and tourism with government and a lot of the power centers in the city. So may I request Mr. Anand to please come and share with us what we will do.
We didn't want to trample on sort of the work that the other associations were doing. So Faith really decided that there were two things that were most important for us to do as Faith. One was that we had to change the perception of tourism, and somebody mentioned that, Puneet mentioned in fact, that tourism is perceived as luxury. We had to get away from the fact that it is an economic activity and not something to do with luxury, and therefore we had to advocate, and we had to be advocates for tourism. We believed that if we were able to successfully do that, we would be able to create a pull for tourism rather than to have to push each time. So all that needed was the world or the country at large to know the benefits of tourism. The second part was that what Faith said that it would take on as an agenda would be major issues that are not specific to any single association. We would not take up an issue which concerns taxation just in restaurants alone or so on and so forth. That was the job of perhaps the FHRAI. We would take up what are the larger issues.
Session is basically on ownership, what is driving ownership in the Indian hospitality space. Is it really profitable today to be doing a hotel asset? Here we go. So I'll start with my ex-boss first, really, Mr. Keswani. Are you comfortable talking about what you're doing in Mumbai? Because I believe it's a very ambitious project of what you're doing in Mumbai.
Nothing wrong talking about. We'll open our first 300+ key hotel, Sakinaka, very close to Leela.
And it's a new brand, or it's the same brand?
That's the Lemon Tree Premier.
Which
unfortunately, because of various regulation changes, took us 7 years to even just get off the ground.
So Ashish Jakhanwala. So Ashish, you want to give a 30-second introduction?
SAMI is a brand independent hotel ownership firm. We own 29 hotels, about 4,500 rooms. We like all brands. Currently work with 3 large operators, Marriott, Intercontinental and Hyatt.
Why not with Indian brands, Ashish?
No, I don't separate Indian and global that way. I think...
Have you got an Indian brand right now?
No, as I said, we worked with global brands, and I do think that Taj, ITC, EIH are all three global brands.
Okay, so coming back to the elephant in the room, Puneet Chhatwal. Everybody wanted to know really that the price that you bid for the Taj Mahal Delhi was, according to a lot of people, a very heavy bid.
I firmly believe that we did the right thing, because you don't sell your crown jewels of the family. You don't get out of them if there is no compelling need for it. Our strategy is to be the most iconic and most profitable company, and we have to protect our iconic assets, and we did that.
Rupak, what's opening next? I think you've been quite silent on the Clarks really for a long time, really.
Tourism hasn't hit the mark, which was...
Are you opening anything new?
No, it hasn't made any sense since we're basically in the tourist market. And these tier 2, tier 3 cities, they don't get much of the...
Do you think there's a capital thing? Are you looking at capital as a constraining factor or no? Not really. No, you're not really convinced.
Looking at the market as a constraining factor, because the tourism happens only in the season, in the winter season, and that's the time when there are no tickets available, there are no flights available. The NRIs are traveling, the tourists can't travel.
Ankur, what's the strategy with you? Why are you not facing the constraining factors that Rupak has?
We've created value there as well, of course, when you sort of do it. And again, I mean, when your question is that we are looking for more assets again in Europe as well. In Dubai, I mean, I've had that discussion with you. I still think that there is that particular market which will for long term. And in India, we've got land within the company, which is Goa and in...
You're opening Rishikesh, I believe, in the next 6 months.
We are opening Rishikesh next.
And so is Taj, actually.
Yeah, and so is Taj as well.
What about your plans? I think you need to give a small brief about to everybody so people understand, because there's a great change in strategy at your side also, really.
We're opening Calcutta in the next couple of weeks, 180 roomer there.
And under which brand is that?
It's got to be an Ibis. It's 180 rooms. And the way we are now structured is at any given point in time, we have 7 or 8 hotels in the pipeline at some stage of design.
How operationally involved are you as compared to, because Accor's managing the hotels, are they involved? Because I know that you have a JV which is nearly equal, kind of close to equal.
So my involvement is purely at the board level on the operating side.
Mr. Rai, you are completely catering to a totally different segment of the market. How do you see tourism in Bodh Gaya, in Gorakhpur, in places like this?
Since my beginning, the Japanese used to travel in Buddhist circuit, and there used to be no facility of any kind, not a restaurant, not a hotel. There used to be only dharamshalas. So I decided that if ever I will have a money, I will make the hotels there.
Mr. Jain, so how's the first foray into the Aerocity actually?
Aerocity, we are targeting 50%. Last year we have 44% GOP.
Well, that's fantastic. That's
and we have 51% some of our hotel, 52% GOP, because Pride is always run with the profit.
Okay.
Even our first year of operation, we always make operating profit.
So Manav, how do you think the Indian hospitality landscape is changing?
I have a problem. I know on this table people have said they're doing 44, 50% and so forth, but I still don't believe that hotels in India are profitable enough. I still don't believe that hotel operators are under any kind of pressure to perform.
This is just a surmise, it's just a question which we are going to debate, not just service but also hospitality across the board in terms of cuisine, in terms of architecture and whatever. We have a very informed panel here. And I would request Mr. Sundar Advani on my extreme left to start this discussion.
We have brought some standards into India, and they have improved the quality of accommodation in India. The desire to be helpful to go out of your way and be friendly, smiling, I think that is probably superior to most countries that I've visited. So we do excel in that. Maybe we don't have them trained as well. The staff isn't as well trained as some of the other countries, because maybe we don't spend the time on training the people as we should, because I think it costs, in the US about $5,000 to train a new person whenever they enter.
I think we had been successful in bringing the standards
the standards were not only brought in, but there were standards which were existing in the country. They just got refined a little bit better. There is a big disconnect in terms of standardization, I think, is the core of our business, but at the same time, standardization of the softer part of the hotel is not what I personally agree with. That really depends, and honestly, having worked for all my career in international brands, some of the best standards in terms of softer hospitality I see in non-branded hotels.
Training can certainly be divided in two parts. One is what we learn at the institutes, and second is what we learn in the hotels on the job. And there are absolutely two different outlook to this. Whereas in hotels, in operating locations, there have to be some standards because that gives a security to the employee that I'm doing the right thing. I'm not deviating from the company standards or company philosophies. Whereas at the institute level, I personally feel there should be a larger opportunity to the students for self-learning.
I would suggest, I think, let's, as an industry, let's look at the softer sides. Let's also look at other things, not just standardization of product, and even Marriott and all experimenting some of the products I saw in Charlotte, very different than what they were today, a few years ago.
What we need to do is really actually sit down and benchmark our sort of what kind of control over the environment that we as the organized sector need to have. I've actually brought a sample of a spoon. It is made of wood. Wood can regrow, plastic can't. You can't destroy plastic over 100,000 years.
Dear Diary, I've been to a wonderful place. They have everything, you know. Mountains, rivers, oceans, jungles, deserts. They have heights. They have depths. They have world heritage sites. They have masterpieces made by man. Gujarat awaits you with open arms.
BITB, India's leading industry platform on what is trending and futuristic. Having organized a dozen conclaves in trending verticals like technology, Make in India, cinema tourism, heritage and culture, transport and aviation, among others, with a presence in conclaves, workshops, talks, B2B meetings, and networking opportunities, highlighting what is unique, traditional, and core of Indian tourism. Exploring what is new age, driving travel and tourism, technology, events, a growing economy, and massive infrastructural developments and innovations. Coming from India's first innovator in this business. Having organized perhaps the first industry seminar in 1976 and the first travel trade mart in 1994. Having hosted over 4,500 foreign buyers into India from over 50 countries worldwide. Continuing a commitment to providing value, meaningful discourse and solutions to making India the #1 travel and tourism destination in the world.